So Al Jazeera's Tawhid Assad is joining us on the phone now from Tehran for more on the breaking news that the Strait of Hormuz has been declared closed. So Tawhid, what more do you know about what's going on?
Well, indeed, based on what we hear from the Revolutionary Guards, they're saying that, quote unquote, due to insecurity caused by the illegal interference of foreigners, the Strait of Hormuz is closed until further notice and until the end of U.S. intervention in the region. And also they're saying that right now no vessels are going to be allowed to pass through this geostrategically significant choke point. They are saying that what the quote-unquote their enemy did is considered as a mistake, and of course, they're saying that this is an act of aggression, what the Americans are doing under the pretext of this incident, which they themselves caused. It will be met with a strong response. And, of course, we have to add that to the context that they were also talking about the strong response before, after the American strikes targeting different southern cities in the country, including Bandar Abbas, Qeshm Island, and also other cities such as Bushehr and in south eastern parts of the country. Indeed, some cities such as important ports like Chabahar. We've got this statement, this actually called for strong response from the Iranian side, specifically from IRGC. And again, they have got another sort of a statement in that regard. Most recently, they're saying that foreign interference and illegal designation of shipping lane in the Strait of Hormuz near Oman would elicit a firm response from Iran and would prevent any increase in traffic through the strait. And also they're saying that they have shot actually warning shots. And once it was ignored, the Iranian side decided to actually continue their acts to show that they have actually, in a sense, flexing their muscles. They're saying that several vessels attempted to deviate from the Iranian designated route, disregarding Iranian repeated warnings and alerts to correct their course and remain within the approved actually routes. Consequently, one of these vessels, which had switched off, according to IRGC, their transponders, and they were, according to them, endangering maritime security, was fired upon and stopped by the IRGC Navy. This is coming in a context that we are dealing, in a sense, with an extreme situation at the Strait of Hormuz. Even after the signing of the memorandum of understanding, controversial arguments are being raised. Iranian side, specifically after they announced that they are closing the strait, was talking about a new regime, a new control, a new authority over the Strait of Hormuz, which, according to Tehran, is not going to be shared by foreign countries, but it's, in a sense, going to be coordinated with the Omani side. This is just a very brittle situation that we are observing at the Strait of Hormuz after several times of having reports about opening, reopening, and then closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
Now, the last time this happened, well, just within the last few days, U.S. officials had said that they had been told by Iranian officials that, in fact, it was errant forces that were responsible for the initial strikes on ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Is there any indication that this could be a repeat of that situation?
Well, it could be and it could not, but frankly speaking, what we hear from the Iranian side is that military escalation could be on the horizon, and Iranians are ready for that scenario, as we have been hearing this two-sided, twofold message from Tehran. They're saying that while they are working diplomatically speaking, and on that, we know that there are a lot of diplomatic engagement underway, mediated by different countries, including Qataris, to resolve all these complexities. Also, they're saying that fingers are on the trigger, and they are promising for crushing answer when it comes to potentiality for escalated scenarios as well. But also we have to keep in mind the further point, and that is the very actually complex nature of the issue. So it is not just the Strait of Hormuz per se, but also different other factors and actors at work. For example, when it comes to Iran's oil exports and the reimposed sanctions in that regard and other complexities, all in all, should be and could be taken into consideration to see if all issues could be resolved within a diplomatic engagement, or there is a potentiality for another round of confrontation on the horizon.
Talking to Sadi there, talking to us on the phone from Tehran. Thank you very much. We're going to go back to David DeRoche. He is a former Pentagon Director of Arabian Peninsula Affairs, now professor at the Thayer Marshall Institute, joining us live from Washington, D.C. This is an interesting development, given the conversation you and I had in the earlier part of the program. This is an indication of the fragility of the situation, not only, of course, with the Strait of Hormuz, but more broadly as well, and also with the negotiations.
Just lost sound. Just lost sound.
No. Unfortunately, we will try and get David back later in the program. We seem to have lost our connection to him in Washington, D.C. there. Oh, I've just been told we can, in fact, go back to David in Washington, D.C. David, I'm glad. I believe we have re-established connection with you.
Yes.
It is good to have you with us. So I was just asking you, this is an indication, given the conversation that you and I were having just in the last half an hour or so, this really is an indication of how fragile the situation is, not just around the Strait of Hormuz, but also with regard to the negotiations themselves.
Yeah. And I just lost the sound again. So, look, what this shows is, first off, we're not sure really who's in charge of Iran. The fact that the last strike on neutral civilian ships were attributed by the government to errant actors, you can get away with that once. I don't think you can get away with it twice. But the second thing is, look, the mask has really slipped here. I mean, what Iran is saying is Arab states do not have the right to accommodate shipping in their own territorial waters, that they do not control it, that Iran is exerting sovereignty over Arab states. This is a fundamentally imperialist act of an aggressor. Now, where does that lead us? Well, a couple of things. First off, I think that it is now highly likely that the reciprocal naval blockade on Iranian ports will be reinstituted, and that this, combined with what President Trump believes to be credible Iranian threats against his life, will probably lead to a resumption of hostilities that will not be proportionally directed against naval activities, as we saw this week, but will probably be expanded both in region to include sites deep within Iran, possibly to include the capital. And there may be an expansion in the type of areas bombarded, like dual-use things, like we saw, again, going back to the campaign to stop the Muslim genocide in Kosovo, to include the electricity grid and communications networks that facilitate the regime. So this is a very dangerous moment from Iran, and may be the start of what will be a very long, hot summer.
We're going to leave it there at the moment because we are still having communication problems with David. But that is David DeRoche, former Pentagon Director of Arabian Peninsula Affairs, now a professor at the Thayer Marshall Institute. We're grateful to you. Thank you.